All right, everybody, we are live. Today we have Daniel Hikikachu and Gary the Numbers Guy. We're going to be debating numerology, the religion of Islam, and we're going to be getting to the bottom of what is the truth, or at least hoping to get closer to the truth today. So, guys, I'm not sure who wants the opening statement, but Gary, you said you want to start with like what we agree on first and then move on to what
Yeah,
we
well,
disagree
I
with.
just want to say that I have a lot of Muslims who are my friends. I consider Muslims overall very good people.
Mhm.
I respect the way they keep the family unit in check. I respect the way they fight against degeneracy. I respect the way they keep women's sexuality in check because we see what happens in the West when you don't. So there's a lot of stuff I respect about Islam. My issues with it is, when the Muslims get to about 30 to 40% of society, they start dictating terms. They start trying to force Islam down other people's throats. And here's what I want to say as a person, I want Sharia law. I respect Sharia law because, quite frankly, I think I'm a better Muslim who's a non Muslim than half the Muslims in the world. I don't drink alcohol. That's haram. I don't eat pork. That's haram. I don't do that. Half the Muslims in the world do. So, as a person who respects their culture and things of that nature, you just have to do a little history, and then you start looking at the Ottoman Empire and how they enforced jizya taxes on non-Muslims, and you see what happens when Muslims get into majority. They start dictating their will. At the same time, I think the most, one of the things I respect the most about Islam, and a lot of people are not going to like this, is something called honor killing. I respect that a lot. The fact that a man would take so much pride in his family's name that he would be willing to go to that extent. That to me is true love, at least to the bloodline. So there's a lot of stuff I respect about Islam. I view it as a stronger religion than Christianity, no doubt. But when Muslims start getting to that 30-40%, that's when they start, switching up on you and start putting this stuff down your throat. And I'm not for that.
Daniel, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. So I don't know much about Gary personally. I know that he is an advocate of numerology, so I'm interested in to understand more of what he means by numerology. I really appreciate the nice things he's saying about Islam. Gary seems like a nice guy. I think he's from a Jewish background.
Correct.
He interacts with Muslims, so maybe we can talk a little about Judaism. We can maybe also talk. You mentioned like Muslims, what their effect on society. We can maybe agree on certain things regarding Jews and their effects on society, as we're seeing a genocide happening right now, perpetrated by Jews, being live streamed. It's on all our feeds in Palestine. So maybe we can talk about those issues a little bit. But yeah, I think that Gary comes off to me as a reasonable guy, and I want to have just a good debate conversation with him, and hoping to learn from his perspective.
Absolutely.
I can tell this ain't going to be the same interview I had with Sneako's Imam. I can tell you that right now. This guy seems much more based than that guy. Let's talk a little bit about the Israeli-Palestine conflict. Can we want to start with that one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. First of all, I'm no fan of Benjamin Netanyahu. I think he's a warmonger. I think that Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to perpetuate this war in Gaza so he can stay in power because before the war in Gaza happened, they were trying to impeach his ass and get him out as prime minister. I think he's a bloodthirsty maniac, and I think Donald Trump has done exactly what I told everyone he'd do 6 months ago. He's pushing this guy back. And now, after the Trump effect, remember, this is the Trump effect. First, Trump pushes back, and now the prime minister of Canada, the prime minister of the UK, the president of France, they're all pushing back too. It always starts with American leadership. It always starts with American leadership. Always remember that. But when it comes down to it, let's say I didn't know that Benjamin Netanyahu let Hamas in on October 7th. Let's pretend that I didn't know that happened, okay? Because I know he let him in. There's no way to get past that wall. But let's say I don't know that. Then I have to look at the fact that 1,000 Israelis got murdered by Hamas. And then the argument becomes, is it a response? Is the response, proportionate to what it should be? I'm going to tell you right now, if I'm president of the United States and a country kills one American, I'm going to kill 1,000 of theirs. That's how I feel. If I'm the president of the United States and some terrorist group kills one American, I'm taking 1,000 of theirs out. I want the price to fuck with Americans to be so high that no one in the world dares to even think about it. So from that perspective, it's like, okay, what is actually going on here? So again, I wish I could snap a finger and cure everything in Gaza and cure everything in Israel. And whether you think they're freedom fighters or terrorists, Hamas, whatever you think they are, they were founded in 1987, the year of the cat. They committed their biggest attack in 2023, the year of the cat. Again, astrology at work. But that's the perspective I want to ask my friend over here. Do you believe Israel is justified at all in what it's doing?
No, absolutely not. That's an easy question. So
that's fine.
And I mean, there's a question about how many people were killed on the Israeli side by Hamas versus by the IDF itself, because it's been established that the IDF was using the Hannibal directive. So the Israeli army has this directive where if there's a situation where enemy force is taking hostages or prisoners of war, that the IDF is authorized to kill those civilians or those hostages, those prisoners of war, kill them and kill their captors, just scorched earth, wipe them out. And this is so many of the eyewitness testimony coming from the Israeli side saying that, the people that were shooting us and the weapons that are being used against us, they're coming from the IDF. And there was, I don't know if you saw this footage, Gary, but they're showing like the aftermath of October 7th, like at the Nova Music Festival. And there were all these burnt out cars. There was like over 100 burnt out cars, just completely annihilated. And the weapons that Hamas has can't do that to a car. An RPG cannot turn a car into a molten lump of aluminum and steel. The only thing that can do that are the weapons that the eyewitnesses saw coming from IDF helicopters, meaning these Apache helicopters were firing Hellfire missiles that were just obliterating everything. So what percentage of those killed on October 7th were actually killed by Hamas versus the IDF? That's point number one. Point number two,
what do you think that percentage is, sir? Because Suleiman told me when I had this conversation with him, it was about 500 to 600 that they believe the IDF killed out of the 1,200. So what percentage do you think it is?
It's hard to give a percentage, but let's just say that, first of all, let the 1,000, what percentage of them were IDF soldiers? Because the people that were celebrating at this Nova Music Festival, they were in the IDF. They were conscripted soldiers, watching guard over a concentration camp, basically. Gaza has been a concentration camp for decades. So these soldiers are guards over a concentration camp, and the inmates fight back. So what percentage were IDF soldiers? What percentage were civilians? I would say that I would be surprised if it were more than 150 or 200. That's point number one. Point number two.
Those IDF soldiers that you say that were guarding the prison camp in the festival, were they armed?
Yeah, a lot of them were armed. And a lot of them had their arms in their car, or they had their arms, at the base. And there are so many. Just look at how settlers are walking around in their settlements. Did you watch the Louis Theroux documentary, documentary where he goes
I did not watch that one, no.
Yeah, so he's showing like the average Israeli settler. They just walk around with their ARs. Women are walking around with their ARs. The average settler is just always armed because it's an occupation. They are occupying Palestine, and they're putting the Palestinians in a concentration camp. And then when the Palestinians are tired of being in a concentration camp and getting starved to death, tired of being in this cage and getting bombed periodically by the IDF, Then they fight for their lives, they fight back, and yeah, there's going to be casualties, there are going to be people killed, but that's the nature of war, that's the nature of occupation. We shouldn't blame the Palestinians for resisting their own ethnic cleansing, and I don't think any moral person would disagree with that.
Okay, so you said that's the nature of war. Is might not right? Is that not the nature of war too? Whoever is the strongest owns the land. Is that not a nature of war too?
Even if we agree that might makes right, there are still standards of how to engage in war. Let me just concede that might makes right. There are still standards of how you can engage in war. And what Israel has done over its 75 years is just terrorism, ethnic cleansing, genocide. That the whole Israel was founded on terrorism. Israel was founded on terrorizing Palestinians and also the British and getting them to release the land, evacuate the land so that they could occupy.
The British made that deal themselves with the Balfour Declaration. They did that themselves. It wasn't just Zionists. The British were very complicit.
Yeah, we can talk about the history of that, of the Balfour Declaration, and how this is the British trying to reward the Zionists who
were getting
Americans into the World War. Like that's the history of it. But I'm not taking away blame from the British. They have their hand in it as well. But the point that I was making is that Israel was founded on terrorism. It was founded on just the most abject brutality. What makes it so objectionable is that they claim to be victims. They are doing this kind of genocide and ethnic cleansing for 75 years, and the whole time they claim to be victims. So that makes it even more objectionable. If might makes right, that I would actually respect that more if Israel came out and Jews in general came out and said, yeah, we're the strongest, we're the mightiest, we're just dominating all you non-Jews, and we're dominating the Palestinians. That would be actually more respectable. They don't say that. They said, no, we're the forever victims of everyone else. Everyone hates us. That's the narrative that someone like Benjamin Netanyahu gives to the UN or gives to the world.
We're reestablished Benjamin Netanyahu is a piece of shit. And if there is a hell, he's definitely going to be burning in it. So we're reestablished that. No need to talk about that piece of shit anymore. I find it funny that his son is over here in Miami chilling, and he's not over there in Israel, just like Zelensky's son is over here in Miami chilling. It's interesting how all the warmongers like to have their kids chill in Miami. But regardless of that fact, let me just say, like, America, you could say, was founded on terrorism too. George Washington, the founding fathers, rebelled against the British crown. And let's not forget, they took Texas by force. They went in there and they took Texas by force. So here's the way I look at things. I live in Florida. And in Florida, we have a very powerful tribe. They're called the Seminoles. And the Seminoles have casino rights. I understand it's haram, but just let me finish. The Seminoles have casino rights all over Florida. It's like locked in the Constitution. No one else can come in here and be a casino except the Seminoles. And a lot of people will be like, well, why is it that this group of people get reparations to this point, but African Americans and all the other people don't get anything, but the Seminole tribe gets it? Well, if you look at American history, the Seminoles were the only tribe that the U.S. military couldn't defeat. They couldn't defeat them. So they had to sign a peace treaty with them. And because their ancestors actually won wars, their descendants have privilege. I'm an American and I have privilege because my descendants of this nation won a war. So I look at what's going on in Israel, Palestine, whatever the hell you want to call it. And we had wars in 47, had a war in 67, had a war in 73, and every single time the Israelis won. So at some point, if you want to dictate terms, you have to win wars. The Muslims haven't won any wars since the Ottoman Empire. And again, I'm not justifying what Israel is doing. I'm not doing anything. I am just saying at some point, if you want privilege, if you want to make terms instead of being subjugated to terms from another person, you have to start winning wars. And that's never going to change. No matter what anyone feels, Because the reality of the situation is this. Again, might equals right. And until someone goes in there by force and does what they have to do, I don't see the situation changing. And quite frankly, if I'm the United States of America, I need those nuclear weapons in Israel. I need them back. Like that's like, if I'm the president of Israel, if I'm the president of America, I'm making a demand that if you want America to continue to give you aid, we need your nuclear weapons. Because who the hell are you to tell Iran and all these other countries they can't have weapons, but you do?
I disagree with the idea that Israel is winning wars. The only reason that Israel can survive is because of constant U.S. support, constant United States giving them aid, giving them weapons. Like,
correct.
The U.S. going to war against all of the regional enemies of Israel, eliminating Saddam Hussein, eliminating Gaddafi, neutralizing Syria by taking out, keeping Syria in a state of perpetual civil war. That's their strategy, is to
I think Turkey had more to do with Syria than America. Turkey had an awful lot to do with Syria, more than America, in all honesty.
I'm talking about the historical Syria. The history of all of the region has been the United States in forever wars in the Middle East for the sake of Israel, to keep Israel from being completely wiped out. So that it's not like Israel is winning these, or it's Jews who are winning these wars. It's the United States as the lapdog of Israel. So that's really point number one.
In 1948, in 1948, in 1967, in 1973, when the Middle East countries were attacking Israel, they had Soviet weapons. They were backed by a superpower as well. So let's be fair. Now, what is going on in Palestine is a little different situation. But in 67, 73, when all the Arab armies attacked Israel, they were being supplied by the Soviet Union as well. So we can't just say that America's supplying one side and the other side wasn't being supplied. Egypt, Syria were all getting weapons from the Soviet Union at the time.
There's nowhere comparable. Like, if you look at the amount of military aid and weapons, the U.S. was air flying an entire fleet, like air transporting massive fleet of weapons, huge tanks, fighter jets that are going to Israel. And then second of all, what about nuclear weapons? Did Russia supply any kind of nuclear weapon to Muslim states like Egypt or Syria or Jordan? No. So this is a major difference between any kind of support that the Muslims got.
I don't think America gave it. I don't think America gave Israeli state nuclear weapons. I think they stole that shit, just like the Rosenberg stole it for the Soviet Union. I don't think they gave it to them. As a matter of fact, Kennedy probably got clipped for trying to go after their nuclear program. Yeah, so I don't believe it was given to them. I think it was stolen.
But my point is, and you're kind of making my point for me, is that you were claiming that there's a big problem when there are 30 to 40% of society has become Muslim because they start dictating their will.
Correct.
Okay, well, it seems like another, like your religious group, I know that you're not religiously Jewish, but your ethnic group also seems to be dictating a lot to the United States.
They do.
So is that a good thing? Like, is that a good thing?
No, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. But here's the thing. There's something called hard power, which is military power, tanks, airplanes, guns. And there's something called soft power, which is money, influence. So Israel has soft power all over the world, not just in the United States. They have it in Brazil. They have it in Saudi Arabia. They have it in India. They have it all over the world. So the Israelis are very good at soft power. Soft power includes espionage with Mossad. Soft power includes having guys like Epstein blackmail people in positions of power so they do what they want. So
that's when you say Israel, we disagree.
No, that is soft power.
Of soft power. That's like criminality. Power. That's like being a mob. That's criminality. Soft power is like
every nation that's in charge has done that. The British, the Romans, the Americans, they all do it.
Assassinating a president, is that soft power?
Yes.
Okay, then we just if assassinating a president is soft power, then okay.
Well, it goes like this. Let me explain how it goes. First, I'm just going to go from America's point of view. First, they go in and they put sanctions on you. If the sanctions don't work, they send in the CIA to try to covertly overthrow your nation. If that doesn't work, then they come in with the military. So quite frankly, I wish that in Iraq, for instance, that the CIA could have done its job and overthrew Saddam Hussein without U.S. bodies having to go in there and dime. So every time the U.S. military is used, that's a failure of the CIA. Because if the CIA did its job, the American military wouldn't have to be used. Now, you might not like my premise, but you can't disagree with what I'm saying. There's a step-by-step nature to soft power. Sometimes soft power is just opening up NGOs and giving people in that country so-called free money or free anything so they have a foothold and they can overthrow the government like they tried to do in Russia in 2012, how they tried to do in Venezuela in 2002. This is something that goes on perpetually with the United States government. But when you say Israel hasn't won the wars, well, I consider soft power even more important than actual hard power. And when it comes down to that, Mossad is probably the best organization in the world at gathering dirt from politicians or, honeypotting him like Epstein. And until that is taken care of, the Zionists are going to stay in power. From what it looks like to me, it looks like Donald Trump is actually changing on these people. So that's just my perspective. That's something I always believed. If Kamala Harris was in there, I promise you they'd be bombing just as much as they were last year. At least with Trump, you see some positive ramifications. But when people say Israel hasn't won those wars because they take American weapons, well, that's a part of their soft power. So yeah, they are winning those wars.
The problem that people have with what you described is that it's just shockingly criminal, and people like other groups are not willing to engage in this level of shocking criminality. And I think that's what distinguishes like Muslims, for example, versus Jews or other groups. Like when it comes to this particular group that you are representing, I'm
not representing them. Oh, hold on.
But do you disavow them because you're defending it?
I have never been to Israel.
Might is right. You're saying
I have never been to Israel. I'm an American saying that. I've never been to Israel. I've never kissed the wall. I don't plan on kissing the wall anytime soon. And I've been talking about Zionists for 20 years. Okay, so I don't consider Jews and Zionists the same thing. Some of you guys out there might. I don't. So let's not say I represent that group. I might have some of their blood in me, but I don't represent them.
But you're saying that might is right.
America's a superpower. 100% of might is right.
But they're not operating on the basis of American interest. They're operating on the basis of Israel's interest. Israel is literally, according to you, Israel will assassinate a president just to have its own will realized. So that's not the American
did they
interest.
Just do that to Iran?
Americans don't have an interest in their president getting assassinated just because he won't give nuclear weapons to Israel, or just because he is forcing Israel to register, or AIPAC to register as a foreign agent. Like, that's not in the interest of Americans. So if you're an American, you should say assassinating JFK is wrong. Forcing the United States to go to Iraq through blackmail, through what you call soft power, through Epsteining all of these politicians, lobbying these politicians to go into a war that's disastrous, costing the United States $8 trillion, reducing the quality of life in America for Americans. If you're America first, then you should blast the Israeli lobby. You should say that this is completely immoral, that this is not in the interest of America. That's what you should say. But instead, you're saying,
I agree with everything you said. And as a matter of fact, I will go even further. You cannot be a dual citizen in my United States of America and be an American government. You cannot be an Israeli citizen in the U.S. Congress. You cannot be an Israeli citizen in the Trump administration. Only Americans. I want to go that far. But see, here's the thing. It takes time. This parasite has infested the host. And you can't remove the parasite without damaging the host if you do it very quickly. You got to do it in a very, very slow manner.
Who are the parasites?
It cannot be... Listen, bro, you know exactly what I'm talking about, man. I don't have to elaborate here. You know exactly what I'm talking about. We have a parasite in the United States of America, and it's attached itself to the host. Now, I'm just saying that is the only way that parasite can exist. It has to attach itself to a host. So that's the way it lives. That's the way it operates. The host has to make sure that parasite is taken off, but not right away, not quickly. It has to be very gradual, or the host will die too. My main interest is making sure America stays the superpower for the next 100, 200 years. To me, the main threat is China and them trying to take over American supremacy. Now, do I want Israel cut off completely? Probably not. Do I want, no, I'm going to be why. I'm going to tell you why in a second. Because I believe that those kids who were born in Israel from 1950, 1960, 1970, that's their home. That's their home. It's just as wrong to remove them from their homeland as it is to remove the Palestinians from theirs. But we can't go back in time and fix that. We know what the situation is now. I'm not going to fault kids who were born in Israel through no fault of their own, and people want to take their land. So again,
but didn't you just say might is right? If might is
correct,
right, then if tomorrow, let's say tomorrow, Syria and Egypt team up and Jordan team up, and they launch a surprise attack against Israel, and they're able to take over, and they say all of the Jews have to get out of this land. This land is now Palestine. Might makes right, so you'd support that, right? You'd be in favor of that.
Yes.
If that were to happen, you'd say there's nothing wrong.
Well, Jordan would never go against Israel. You know that. But
let's say they have awakening, like they have a
okay. You got another 20 years for that awakening,
wakes up and he has a dream. King Abdullah has a dream where he's boiling in hellfire, and he's like, "Oh, I can't let this be my."
Yeah, the Jordanese were shooting down the Iranian missiles that were fired at Israel a couple months ago. Jordan is a lapdog. Jordan ain't going anywhere. Okay, so Syria is now in the hands of the Saudis and the Turks. And the Saudis and the Turks will dictate the terms. The best thing about what's happening in Syria is Iran's out the way now. Okay, because here's the thing. I like Saudi Arabia. I support the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. I like that family. I like the way they do things. I don't like the way Iran does things. I don't. I prefer to align myself with the Sunnis, not the Shiites. Okay, and here's the thing about the Iranians. They always say until the last Arab, because they don't consider themselves Arab. They consider themselves Persian. They will use every Arab, and they will get every Arab they can kill. Why do you think a Shiite organization, Iran, was funding Hamas, who's a Sunni organization? Because they wanted all this trouble. They wanted all this. So they're not a good guy. You can say whatever you want about Israel. Don't tell me that the Ayatollahs over there in Iran are good guys, okay?
Did Saudi ever do anything to kill Muslims?
I mean, they got Khashoggi.
No, I mean like massive, like hundreds of thousands.
Not that I know of. I mean, if you want to educate me, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, they were responsible for a famine that ended up killing around 300,000 Yemenis. They blockaded Yemen. They attacked Yemen. Not a long time ago. This was just in the past decade, just in the past 5 years. So
maybe that had something to do with the Iranians funding the Houthis. Maybe that has something to do with the Iranians funding the Houthis and Saudi Arabia and Iran being mortal enemies. Maybe that has something to do with that. Not all Muslims get along either. It's not just Muslim versus Jew. It's Muslim versus Muslim.
Yeah, who benefits from that, you think? Who benefits from Muslim
not Muslims, that's for sure.
Who benefits, do you think, from that?
Same people running shit. Same people running shit.
Which is who?
Zionists. Listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat things. Zionists are pushing homosexuality. Zionists are pushing pornography. Zionists are pushing feminism. And that's the reason I'm against Zionism, because I'm about home and family. I'm not about all that degenerate shit. So I understand why they push that shit.
What does Zionism have to do with pornography and destruction of family? Like, why does that benefit Zionists?
Well, it benefits Zionists because they want turmoil all around the world. So as long as the family structure is broken, as long as there's not a mom, dad raising kids, and there's some degenerate family, then their focus, the house divided cannot stand. So if you have a family fighting amongst themselves, no one's going to be looking at the top and who's running shit. See, if there is a strong nuclear family, if we didn't have this feminism garbage, if we didn't have all this other crap that goes on, that all the stuff the Zionists push, then all of a sudden we have a much stronger family units all across the world, not just in America. And then people at the kitchen table wouldn't be talking about, oh, I'm a liberal, we need to fight for trans rights. Except what they would be talking about is like, wait a second, why are these people on the top, like at the top? Why are these senators coming in power and they're not worth any money, and all of a sudden they're leaving power and they're worth $100 million? How does that work on $150, $150,000 a month year salary? How does that work? So if the family unit was strong, if there was no feminism, if there's no homosexuality, if all that garbage was thrown away, then the Zionists would be in real trouble because people would be focusing on them. But because the Zionists spread all this nonsense around the world, it keeps people divided, so no one's looking at them. That's why.
True. I think it's a rabbi that owns Pornhub too, right?
No, quite a few of them.
Yeah, for sure. Guys,
And
I kind of want to...
OnlyFans as well.
Yeah, I kind of want to...
I'd shut that shit down if I could.
Yeah, we need that gone for sure. Guys, I kind of want to pivot now to like talking specifically about numerology, because I think now we've kind of got some of the stuff that we agree on out of the way. This is where I think we're actually going to really start disagreeing between the two of you guys. So I want to hear the first question I have here, and I'm not sure who wants to start with this, but is there any basis behind numbers holding any inherent energy behind them?
Well, as a numerologist, you know I'm going to say yes. You know, when all you got to do is look at events in history and understand that people in positions of power do certain things on certain dates for certain reasons, which they know because they understand how this knowledge works, and most of the people are blind to it. Al-Qaeda was founded on August 11th. Their three biggest attacks that they're known for was America 9/11, Madrid, Spain 3/11, and Mumbai, India on July 11th. So the three biggest attacks that Al-Qaeda did all happened on the 11th, and they were found on the 11th. 9/11 happened on the 11th. The first plane to hit the World Trade Center was Flight 11. New York City, 11 letters. Afghanistan, 11 letters. When you look at the Pentagon, 11 letters. When you look at the Twin Towers, they look like an 11 side by side. So the question becomes, obviously, that's not a coincidence at that point. Why are they doing this? Because they know certain numbers have certain energies behind them. And if you want to commit terrorist attacks, it's best to do it on 11 days because that is the most emotional number out there. Numerology and astrology is what the elite's been using for a long time. This is why Israel was founded in 1948. 1948 adds up to 22. 11, 22, 33 are all master numbers. So if you understand how to use this type of energy, then it gives you an edge in life. And the fact is, the Christians, the Muslims, the Jews, they don't even believe in this stuff. So the Zionists are just doing whatever they want because they know how numerology and astrology works. It's not a coincidence that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was founded on the same day that the first king of Saudi Arabia was born. So they're doing all this stuff on purpose, and people just don't understand how this works. And then you wonder why these people stay in power and no one can get rid of them. Well, because they have knowledge that you aren't aware of.
Daniel, what do you think about that?
I think that there's different ways that you can describe numerology. Like if you mean that are there coincidences in certain dates? Like if we assume that certain terrorist attacks like 9/11 or the founding of Israel, this is something that is decided by a secret, powerful group, and they specifically pick dates that where the numbers have power, or they believe that there's some energy behind those numbers, those dates, and there's some kind of metaphysical symbolism that's at work. That I think is possible. There is numerology in Judaism. Actually, it's called gematria. So you do have numerology in Judaism. And so that kind of numerology, I don't think is that big of a deal to say that, let's imagine that there's all these powerful people, Zionists, as Gary calls them, that are in control of the United States or the entire world. And they believe in magic. I think that that's plausible, actually. I actually believe that there are a lot of people in high positions of power who believe in magic because they're Satanists. They believe that there is magic. You can use dark forces to control people and to influence the world. And they make deals with the devil. They make sacrifices to the devil, to Lucifer, in order to gain power. They believe it gives them power, it gives them control. And because in Islam, we believe in magic. Magic is a reality. Magic is something that actually exists. God has created this force in the world called magic, sihr in Arabic. And that's real. Magic is real. And bad people, Satanists, can use that power to do very dark things, to increase their power, to increase their wealth. That's why it's called making a deal with the devil. You have to sell your soul to the devil in order for the devil to use his power, because God has given the devil certain powers in this life. The devil will allow you to do things that you wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. That's the power of magic. And I do believe that there are powerful figures in the world today who are Satanists, who do use magic, who do have contact with the devil, with Lucifer, with Iblis, and as it said in Islam, Iblis. And they do all kinds of dark things to harm their enemies, to increase their power, to cause darkness to spread in the minds of people through media. Yeah, I completely believe in all of that. And the evidence for that is in the Quran. And that's what's taught in Islam, actually. But notice that this is what people use who are going against God, and they are siding with the devil. They're siding with Lucifer. So this is something evil. This is evil that should be condemned. It shouldn't be used, because you don't want to fall into that kind of Satanism and Luciferianism. The kinds of sacrifices that these people are making, like we hear about child sacrifice, we hear about like these rituals, like Bohemian.
You're comparing numerology to child sacrifice.
I'm saying that these are related subjects. These are related genres. Because if you're talking about the power, where is the power coming from of numbers? Can you tell me more about that?
Okay. Let's step back here, because he just said a lot. And he started off being real base, saying, yeah, there's it's pretty, it's most likely the people in positions of power use this. And then he started talking about demons and Satanists and all this other stuff. My friend, I have never been in any type of Satanism. I don't do any Freemasonry. I don't do anything. I just read numbers, the same numbers that are in your Quran, the same numbers that are in the holy books, all the same numbers. I just read numbers because I know how to interpret numbers. There's absolutely nothing satanic about it. It's like driving a car. When you drive a car, you can kill somebody. Does that make the car evil? No, sir. It makes the person behind driving the car evil. So if you're telling me there's people who use numerology in positions of power who do evil with it, yeah, 100%. I've been saying that for 20 years. But to say that numerology is evil itself is just like saying, oh, that car is evil because someone took that car and killed someone with it. That's complete and utter nonsense. Here's the problem. When people are ignorant to a subject, they start getting fearful. And they start invoking, oh, this is evil, this is the devil, this is all sorts of nonsense. Let me tell you what it is. If we had a plane go back in time 200 years ago, they would say that's magic, okay? That's what they would say, because they didn't have enough knowledge to understand how something like that worked. If this person right here actually studied numerology, he would see there's nothing satanic about it. It's basically the interpretation of numbers. I believe that we live in a virtual reality. I believe this is all fake. Okay. And the way you interpret this virtual reality is through the numerology and astrology. I always wanted to know why some people were so very attractive. Well, I found out people born on the 5th, 14th, 23rd tend to be good looking. I always wanted to know why some people were extremely rich. Well, people born on the 28th, like Elon Musk, who just had a child born on the 28th. I wonder why. A guy like Bill Gates born on the 28th. You'll notice that a lot of people born on those type of dates tend to be extremely wealthy. And how do you know the elite use this? Well, we all know what Vanguard is, right? Vanguard owns 10% of BlackRock. They're the State Street. They're the ones who run things. But the most powerful one is Vanguard. Vanguard was founded 5/1, 1975. Let's do the math. 5/1, 1975 adds up to 28. Shocking. So again, they're just using things to their advantage. And the problem with these religious folks is they think any knowledge outside their holy books is the devil, or it's not. This is nonsense. And this is why the religion is like a glass ceiling. It'll keep you away from degeneracy, but it won't let you rise. It won't let you rise because, oh, you can't study numerology and astrology. It's from the devil. So it keeps that glass ceiling on you. You won't be able to rise above it. So is Islam good now? Yes, because we live in a degenerate society. So Islam would be better than the homosexual. But if all the world becomes Islam, you can forget about evolution. We're not going any higher in this glass ceiling because all of a sudden numerology, astrology, all that stuff's from the devil because they refuse to learn. That's the problem with the religious folks. They refuse to learn anything behind their besides their Quran or their Torah or their Talmud or their Bible. It is what it is. But we'll get into this devil in a second because I do believe there are jinns. I do believe they're devils, but it has nothing to do with numerology and astrology.
Well, you acknowledge that from the beginning of your explanation of numerology that the powerful people are using these symbols.
Correct.
So they care about those symbols. Do you believe that the elites, that there are segments of the elites that are into Satanism, that do terrible sacrifices or involve themselves in satanic rituals? Are there elites that do that?
I believe that that's a psyop for low-level elites. Satanism is like a psyop form. They want to. There's fake elites like the presidents and the prime ministers and the senators, and then there's their real elites like the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and the Romanovs. And I think the real elites, they push that Satanism shit on the fake elites to keep them in check. So is there Satanism in Bohemian Grove where these politicians go to suck each other off? Yeah, there's definitely Satanism there. But do the real elite practice this stuff? No, they just give it to their puppets to keep them in check. It's like Christianity for the sub-level elite.
I don't know. The Rothschilds have some crazy parties. They have some crazy events. It looks very satanic to me. It looks very satanic to me.
That is done to keep their subjects in check, to make them believe that that's what they believe in. They're not into that stuff. I can assure you. They're not into that stuff. They use Satanism to keep the low-level politicians who think they're the elite in check. So yes, are there Satanists? Yes, but they're the ones who are like the politicians. They're not the real elite. The real elite, me and you, will never know. All we know is Rothschild or Rockefeller. We'll never know who the real elite is. But the puppy elite who serve the real elite, yeah, they're into that fake Satanism stuff, 100%.
Can you tell me which system of numerology is correct? Because there are multiple systems of numerology. There's like a Pythagorean numerology, Chaldean numerology, Chinese numerology, Gematria is Hebrew numerology. So which numerological system is correct and which ones are wrong and why? What's the reason that one is correct and the other is wrong?
Well, most of the systems are wrong to throw people off track. For instance, the astrology is put in the newspapers by the comics to make it look like a joke. So not to mention that, most of astrology is followed by Western astrology, which isn't that accurate. So yes, there are some, I think most of the numerologists out there are frauds. Like, for instance, if you have the keys to the universe, why are you broke? I mean, I'm being dead serious. All the numerologists out there who think you know something, if you really think you know that much, why are you broke? So again, I don't think much about most of the numerologists in the world. When I look at myself, I do things with numerology like stocks, crypto, sports, all type of stuff I use for numerology. I have the biggest numerology community in the world. Most likely the most famous numerology. It's definitely in the Western world. If you're asking me what system is correct, I would say the GG33 system is correct. Because all these other people, they really don't know what the hell they're doing. But when you want to talk about
GG33?
GG33 is the group I started in 2011 because I was so sick of frauds out there, pretending to be numerologists. I decided to start my own group, and I got about 9 billion views since 2022. So I've done a pretty good job making this mainstream, where I'm debating Muslims and Christians like you. So it is what it is. So I'm getting it out there. But yeah, most numerologists are fake. When it comes to gematria, that has to do more with the letters that are a representation of the numbers. But if you want to get into that, we can definitely get into that. We'll have to go back to Israel. When I look at,
there are a lot of powerful Jews that use gematria. It's not your GG3 system, and they're richer and wealthier than you. So why are they not right?
I'm not out here doing immoral things going to send me to hell too. So it is what it is. I'm actually educating the public, not fucking using this for world domination, at least not yet. So anyways, moving on. When it comes down to,
I think it's important to understand like what system is right, and because I want to know how you discredit other numerological systems. Because if I go to another numerologist, he's gonna say, no, Gary is a fraud and he's scamming people. GG33 is just a scam. So what can you tell us that is definitive to prove that your numerology is correct and their numerology is a hoax?
Well, the best thing you can do was look at past predictions. What gave me my claim to fame was I understand gambling's haram, but in 2016, the Cleveland Cavaliers were down 3-1 to the Golden State Warriors in the NBA Finals. And a team down 3-1 never came back. And I went on the local news and I put my reputation on the line. And I said the Cavs are coming back to win a championship. That's exactly what happened. I told Donald Trump to his face in 2016 that he'd be president of the United States. And there's a video evidence of this all over. So I would say a lot of my predictions have come true. I said Pakistan and India. Oh, yeah. I made a lot of money on the Cavs. Made a lot of money in the Cavs.
That's championship?
Yeah, when they won the championship. As a matter of fact, everyone here listening, so they know I'm not just talking on my ass. After we're done with this interview, go put in on YouTube Gary the Numbers Guy and Cavs, and the whole interview will come up from when the Cavs are down 3-1, and I said they come back and win. So that's just one thing I told Donald.
What were the numbers that indicated that?
Oh, I love to tell it. That's actually a good thing to talk about. So the first number was Cleveland's area code. Cleveland's area code is 216, and that was 2016. So you had it line up from there. The second thing, when you look at King James, that's what they call LeBron James, King James. He was that's his pet name. If they were to win the NBA Finals, it would have happened on June 19th, and June 19th was the day the actual King James was born. So there, you had that right there as well. When you talk about gematria, the Warriors' former arena was called Oracle, and you can't spell Oracle without CLE, which is Cleveland. So there's a lot of stuff there. I don't want to bore the whole audience.
Those
and
are
go
not
through
numbers.
every single thing.
CLE is not a number. It's just so numerology.
It's gematria. It's numerology. It's gematria. It's numerology. Okay. So when it comes down to it, I also predicted Donald Trump will win the election. I said Donald Trump will win it this time. So I've made a lot of predictions, including this year when I said India and Pakistan would both go to war, and that did happen. And thank God we have a president like Donald Trump, a real American leadership who went on the phone and said, "Okay, kids, you played in the sandbags enough. Now it's time to do what the United States tells you to do," and that's exactly what happened. I want people to make no mistake. I want Zionist influence removed and replaced with American influence. I have no problem with America dominating the world, doing whatever they need to keep America on top. As a matter of fact, I think we should annex Canada. I think we should annex Greenland. I think we should do a lot of things, because at the end of the day, the Chinese enemy needs to be contained. I'm not worried about the Zionists as much as I'm worried about the Chinese entity, which, if they ever come to power, everyone's going to be enslaved. You know what they do to your Uyghur Muslims in China, don't you?
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah,
but
not
the U.S.
good.
has done much worse. Donald Trump has done much worse.
What is Donald Trump? We intern Muslims in America. Where do we do that?
Well, you have what's going on in Palestine. Trump said that Netanyahu finished the job. That was Trump. Trump says he's good buddies with Netanyahu. I thought you didn't like Netanyahu, but Trump says he's his best friend.
Well, Trump had to appease the Zionists to get in power, and now that he's actually there, he's talked down to Netanyahu more than any other president in U.S. history. As a matter of fact, America put tariffs on Israel, and Netanyahu came over there. He's like, "Yo, Donald, take them off," and he's like, "No, I'm not going to. You guys get $6 billion. You're not getting shit else." So I like to say that Donald Trump is standing up to the Zionist leadership more than any other president since John F. Kennedy. So again, you could still have Biden in there, and you still have those bombs dropping every single day on Gaza. So I'd like the Muslims out there to at least admit, you know what? Not everything's perfect. Not everything's quote unquote kosher yet. But at the end of the day, Donald Trump's doing a lot better job than Kamala Harris was, or Joe Biden was.
If Donald Trump, we don't want this, obviously, but if something happens to him where he gets assassinated, who would you suspect is behind that? No answer. Okay. No answer is an answer.
Hey, brother, I think silence is very deafening there. It sure as hell it could be the Russians. It might be the Chinese. The Chinese are taking their asses, are getting their asses handed to them in a trade war right now. So It might be the Chinese.
Donald Trump took off all the tariffs on China.
Not before they did what he wanted them to do.
What did they do?
Well, when it comes down to it, all the countries that signed a trade deal with America, like the UK, it basically circumvents China out the system. So if they're going to have a trade deal with America, they're going to essentially stop dealing with China. So a lot of countries who already signed trade deals with America are doing that. Not to mention Donald Trump just went to the Middle East and grabbed $2.6 trillion, not million, not billion, but $2.6 trillion from Qatar, from the United Arab Emirates, from the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. Listen, Donald Trump's a great businessman. He came back with 10% of the U.S. GDP in one trip. Not to mention he stopped World War III with India and Pakistan. I think there's a lot to be optimistic for if you're the United States president. I really do. If you're a United States citizen.
Maybe. Unless we go to war with Iran.
Where are you from? Are you a U.S. citizen?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have American privilege.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true.
And you know what American privilege is? Unlike these shitholes all across the world, where if they say something bad about Putin in Russia, you get arrested. Say something bad about Xi or Erdogan in Turkey, you get arrested. Here, I could talk shit about Biden. You could talk shit about Trump. You can say whatever you want. I can offend black people, women, and nothing will happen to me because I have American privilege just like you do. And I just want to say I live in the greatest country in the world where I can criticize my leadership and nothing's going to happen to me. And by the way, let me make this clear. The Zionists have not prevented 22 million Americans from becoming millionaires. Okay? So even in a Zionist world, I'm living good, bro. Even in a Zionist world, 2 million Black Americans became millionaires. So again, the Zionists do have control over America, but it's not full control like Nick Fuentes says. They probably control about 20 to 40% of America, and it's dwindling. They never controlled 100% because I want to make this point very clear. Netanyahu has been trying to get presidents to bomb Iran for 20 years. He tried to get Obama to do it. He wouldn't do it. He tried to get George W. Bush to do it. He wouldn't. He tried to do Trump to do it. He tried to get Biden to do it. So if the Zionists are all this powerful organization, how come they couldn't get 4 different American presidents to bomb Iran?
No, I mean they're trying. They're close to getting exactly what they want.
No, they're not.
Let's talk like in a few months. Let's talk.
What are we talking in a few months? This has been going on for 20 years. 20 years been trying to get America to bomb Iran. Nothing. Under Democrat leadership, under American leadership. So what's the conclusion we come to? The Zionists don't have as much power as you think they do. Do they have more power than anyone else in America? 100%. But do they have ultimate power? Never have, never will.
I don't know. You're kind of moving the goalposts on what is ultimate power. Like if you have the
ultimate power is you control 100% of the country.
You have a power to just take out a president and wipe him out. I think that's pretty powerful. I think that's more powerful than any other group. And yeah, I wish in America we could criticize whoever we want. You can tell me what happens if you criticize one particular chosen group. Look at what Donald Trump is doing to the American university, where they're saying that if you protest against the genocide in Palestine, you're an anti-Semite, and we're going to revoke your green card. We're going to revoke your visa. We're going to deport you.
Why shouldn't he be able to?
Is that
why shouldn't he be able to? They're not citizens. They're not citizens. A green card holder is not a citizen. Why should they have the same rights as citizens? If you're an American, you can go out there and criticize whoever the fuck you want. If you're a green card holder or you come here on a visa, shut the fuck up.
Okay, let's watch the language a little bit, please.
I'm sorry. My apologies.
But like, you can criticize.
But I meant what I said.
As a green card holder, they can come and criticize America. They can criticize America. They can criticize China.
I don't think they should be able to criticize anybody.
Just one country they can't criticize. Otherwise, they'll lose their status. I thought you were American first, but now you're supporting the interests of Israel. Some of these protesters actually that have green cards, they're like you. They want to criticize Netanyahu, but they're not allowed to do that. They have exactly the same beliefs as in terms of criticizing Netanyahu and the IDF as Gary the numbers guy has, but they're getting deported for those views. So
you are not an American citizen. American citizens do not have the right. You have to be an American citizen to have those rights. Okay. So again, I don't like the fact that I don't think non-American citizens should be in the political process whatsoever. As a matter of fact, if they open their mouth about anything bad about the United States, they should be deported right away. If you're a green card holder, shut the hell up. Okay? Quite frankly, you're not here to have anything to do with the political discussion. Green card holders, visa holders, shut up. Very simply, about everything, not just Israel. Shut up about everything. I'll tell you what thing I will stand for you. If you can show me any day that an American citizen was imprisoned or something happened to him because he criticized Israel, I'm with you. I'm with you. Don't talk to me about green card holders. They're not citizens.
The fact that, look, let's focus on Donald Trump. Donald Trump is taking federal funding from universities like Harvard University, Columbia University, because he claims that they're anti-Semitic for allowing protests against Israel. So he's taking out their funding. These are universities that are majority U.S. citizens. So that is affecting U.S. citizens for the sake of Israel. So that you disagree with Trump on this.
I will say this. That might be a little bit extreme. If it's affecting American citizens. But at the same time, listen.
What about social media censorship? What about social media censorship? I'm American citizen. I can't say certain things on YouTube. I can't say certain things on Twitter.
I can't say I can't
about Israel.
You know what?
About Israel and
Jews.
There are certain things I can't say.
We're talking about Israel right now in a bad light. We're on YouTube. What are you talking about?
I asked you certain questions. You didn't even answer. You were like, we can't really say it. That was your response.
Well, you want me to say Israel? You want me to say Israel acts like a parasite? Here, I said it. Big deal. Well, okay. I don't care, bro. I don't care.
Yeah, well,
okay. I've been canceled. I've been canceled more than Nick Fuentes. I've been suspended off Twitter 24 times for telling people not to get vaccinated. I went to see President Trump in 2020 in the White House. My bank account got suspended. My wife's bank account got suspended. My brother's bank account. Guess what? If you put yourself in the public spotlight, if you actually fight, if you're a freaking man and you do what a man's supposed to do, there's going to be pushback. Didn't Allah tell you about the stuff like this, bro? If you go out there and you make noise, people are gonna push back against you. It is what it is. That's just the way life works.
You got your bank accounts got frozen for what reason? I didn't catch that.
I went to see President Trump December 2020 at the White House to see his team. And 3 days after I visited the White House, my bank accounts were shut down. My brother's bank account was shut down. My wife's bank account was shut down. Interestingly enough, all by the same bank. So again, that was because I was supporting President Trump, and I said the election was stolen, and they decided to punish me as an influencer. Oh well, guess what? I still found a way around it. I still found a way to make money because I live in the greatest country in the world, even with this censorship. And all I can tell people is AI is coming. AI is coming. You don't need to read the Quran or the Bible or the Talmud. AI is coming. It's going to go for all your jobs real soon. Be very, very careful. That is the main entity you guys need to watch out for. AI right now, because here's what's going to happen. We have slave labor coming back. Slave labor is coming back to Earth. What do I mean by that? In the 1860s, 1850s, when slavery was legal all around the world, what happened? You couldn't have a viable middle class because you had slave labor doing all the work. Why would someone pay someone an honest wage when you get slaves to do it? So most of the people in the world were either slaves or in poverty. So what's happening right now is we're going to have a new slave class called robots. And these robots are going to do all the same work the slaves did. And what that means is everyone who's in the middle class, oh, bye-bye, your job's going to be gone. You're going to be replaced, which means poverty is coming in the 2030s, just like poverty came 100 years ago in the 1930s, right after Wall Street crashed. That is the real danger everyone should be looking out there for. AI, the Zionists, they're done. They're losing power every single day. You have, if you want to be honest with yourself.
Who's the owner of OpenAI?
I mean, you can say they're Jewish individuals. You can say that, but I'm to the point where I think the AI is gonna overtake
Palantir.
the
Who owns
slave
Palantir?
master and become the slave master, become the master himself.
Who's weaponized AI against Palestinians and anti-Semites? Which group?
Oh, the Chinese have weaponized AI more than any other country in the world. So I think you should talk to them about that before anyone else.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I'm not a fan of.
I will tell you this. I will tell you this. It was the IDF that gave the AI system to the Chinese so they could have all that stuff going on there. So what I'm worried about as an American is the Zionists are going to take all their money out of America and pour into China. That's what I'm worried about, because you know they run the Federal Reserve, and without the Federal Reserve, America is not going to be a superpower. So at some point, if the Federal Reserve collapses and everything goes over to China, then guess what? The American citizens aren't going to be that rich. Your kids, my kids, are going to suffer because America's no longer a superpower. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm more worried about the Chinese and the CCP than I'm worried about the Zionists.
I mean, you're mentioning China. I'm not a fan of China. I think they are committing a lot of oppression against Muslims. But you should also know that the U.S., after 9/11, the so-called war on terror, Muslims in America were detained. They were put on no-fly lists. A lot of imams were just deported without any due process. There were a lot of Muslims who were really severely affected with their bank accounts frozen. They lost their jobs. So without any kind of actual crime that they committed. So tens of thousands of Muslims were affected. All of the major mosques were being surveilled.
Ask me what I did in 2004, though.
What was that?
Ask me what I did in 2004.
What'd you do?
I married a Muslim. So that stuff doesn't work with me.
Was she put in prison, or was she put on the no-fly list? Was she? Her bank account frozen?
No. Well, you know, the thing is, you found yourself a Muslim woman because you know she's going to have a low body count. In my case, she was a virgin. So that's why I refused to marry an American woman, and I married a foreign woman who happened to be a Muslim, because I respect Islam with the home and family values. And I knew that because my wife was raised in a Muslim family, that body count would be.
What was her ethnicity, if you don't mind me asking?
Russian.
Oh, okay. So she was not an American citizen? She was.
No.
Oh, okay. Did she come to are you still married, or are you divorced?
Yeah, 20 years. She's over here walking around.
Okay, congrats.
I'm not like these Christians over here who get married and divorced 5-6 times.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's not allowed in Islam for Muslim women to marry non-Muslim women.
Again, I don't care what's allowed. I'm just telling you what it is. I don't care about the rules in the Quran. There are certain things I respect about the Quran, but I'll tell you one thing. The people in Europe, they're gonna see what happens, and the people in France, the people in Sweden. Once that Muslim population gets past that 30 to 40% mark, Then they're going to start dictating terms to people.
I mean, what is
So,
Islam dictating?
again-
You're saying that Islam is so great. So if Islam is dictating to people, then that's a net positive, right? That's going to be for the benefit of society.
I also talked about how there's a glass ceiling with Islam. See, right now Islam is good because there's so much degeneracy going on in the world. The world's right here and Islam's right here. So I want to get them to this point. That would be a positive. But once people are at this point, they can't evolve any further.
Evolve for
But
what?
why are you getting down on your knees? Getting down on your knees, praying 5 times a day to some
Guys, I have a
demon?
question for you.
See I believe the Muslims, the Jews, the Christians are all playing the demons.
But
That's what
guys, I have
believe.
another topic here, and
You said you
think-
believe in God,
Oh,
right?
hold on. Hold on.
Don't you believe in God?
It's about to get good.
Don't you believe in God?
No, of course I believe in the prime creator, 100%.
Then
But the prime creator
Muslims
doesn't need your
worshiping?
worship.
Oh, do you decide?
I-
do you
I
decide
believe
that,
you're
or
worship-
does God decide that?
I believe you're worshiping Ra. You know, going back to Israel, it's actually named after 3 demons: Is, Ra, and El, as in Elohim. And if you look at that word Ra, it's all over Islam. You understand what I'm saying? When you look at the Quran or sutras or pray, because when you actually pray, you become prey. The one thing I will say about religious folks, they got one thing in common with these degenerates. They seem to get on their knees an awful lot.
Yeah, it's called submission. It's called being in awe
No,
of your
there's no need.
creator.
Only women need to submit,
Instead of
bro.
worshiping yourself.
Only women need to submit. Men do not need to
I let
submit,
you
brother.
talk. You keep interrupting me. Let me get out a sentence without interrupting.
Go ahead.
So worshiping your creator is submission to the creator, as opposed to worshiping yourself and thinking that you are the creator, or thinking that your understanding is the supreme understanding of the universe. Muslims pray to the creator of the heavens and the earth. Like, that's the difference. Whereas you're praying to yourself, or you worshiping yourself.
I don't pray to myself. I don't worship anything. You're assuming things there. I don't worship anything. I know I'm just a human being. I don't think I'm a god or anything like that. I'm flesh and
How do
blood.
you know
I'm a
if
human
you're-
being. I understand. Hold on. I didn't interrupt you. I understand I'm nothing compared to the prime creator. But what I'm trying to tell you is you're not praying to the prime creator. You're praying to actual demons. A real God will never need your worship. He doesn't need to siphon your energy. Only demons need to siphon your energy. So yes, when you pray, you become prey. And I'm talking to you Muslims, you Christians, you Jews, you Hindus, you Buddhists out there. Every single one of you. Let me say all the people who are in the Talmud too. So people don't call me a Mossad agent and stuff like that. Every single religion out there, you are praying to a demon and he is siphoning your energy. A real God does not need your worship. The only thing the real God wants is for you to do what is righteous. If you have a family, take care of your kids. Don't go around sleeping around with a whole bunch of whores and stuff like that. That's not what the prime creator wants. You have to be a righteous man. You have to be a moral man. And by the way, worship is only for women. That is why W-O starts with woman and W-O starts with worship. Worship is for women, never for men.
Wombats also, it starts with W, so it's meant to.
Yeah,
wombats are meant for worship too. So, but okay, so if you have this idea, let's start with what we agree on. So we should be righteous. First of all, who defines what is righteous? But let's assume that we have a definition of righteousness and goodness. So how are you as a person going to prioritize being righteous as opposed to doing what is going to help your bottom line? Why should I care about being righteous when I can just cheat, steal, and lie, take advantage of people, kill people, harm people, so that I win? Why can't I just live by might is right, and there's a law of the jungle? I can just do whatever I need to do to enrich myself and increase my bottom line. Why should I be righteous? And that's the big benefit of worship, is that when you have God consciousness and you fear God, you have what's called taqwa in Islam. Taqwa means fear of God. Then the fear of God is going to make you act appropriately, because there are many situations where I can get away with cheating, I can get away with stealing, and I don't do that because I know that God is watching me and I don't want to disobey God, my creator. Everything that I have and I enjoy in my life, every blessing that I enjoy, whether it's my wife, my children, my house, the food that I eat, That's from God. So I'm thankful to God. And that sense of gratitude is what makes me want to worship God. That's what makes me want to kneel to God and put my head on the ground, because I recognize that all of the benefits, every single pleasure that I experience is because of God. God has allowed me to experience that. And that humbles me. That makes me want to be so grateful. I love God because of that. I want to put my head down on the ground and be obedient and be righteous to God, because that's what he has done. He's done everything for me. He's created me.
What do you have to say though?
So you do it out of fear
And love.
What do you have
gratitude.
to say?
No, well, I heard the word fear.
I also said love.
That's what I heard out of you. I heard the word fear
And love and gratitude and a sense of submission, a sense of awe, the Almighty. When I go and see the stars, I see the sun, I see the moon, I see the mountains, and I ask, who created this? And it's clear, the Almighty created this, what no one else could create. That gives me such awe. Haven't you ever seen something so beautiful that it brings tears to your eyes? Have you seen something so profound?
Yeah, I try to figure out what happened. Not all of a sudden default. Oh, it's just God. No, that doesn't work with me. See, everything you said you did good in your life. How many subscribers do you have on YouTube? What's that? Like 140, 150,000, something around there? Okay, so whatever you have. Okay, whatever the number is that all God? You didn't put any work?
Yeah,
if you didn't put any work in there. Oh, you didn't put any work in.
I'm only able to
So if you laid on your ass, hold on. If you laid on your ass every single day and you did nothing, you would still have the same stuff? You would still have the same results? No. You see, what you're doing is you're trying to say that all the hard work you put in means nothing. All that matters you. No. You don't dismiss the hard work you put in, because without that hard work, you wouldn't have shit. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get better with the swearing. I do it too often. But what I'm trying to say is you're disavowing all the stuff that you put in, and you just want to say it's God. It's not. You have to put in work.
Yeah, so
you can't just pray for money. You got to pay the rent. You can't just go like this and, oh, please give me money. No, you got to go out there and work.
I agree.
And if you don't work, it doesn't matter how much you pray. Nothing's going to change. So I'm going to say this. You might need a Quran to tell you not to steal. I don't. Other people might need a Bible to tell them not to cheat. I don't. I know what the difference is between right and wrong without getting on my knees and without stealing and without doing anything of that nature. I'm going to tell you something.
Wait, how do you know? Like
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you how I know that. I'll tell you. In 2015,
cheat and steal, those are the easy cases. But when it comes to the nuts and bolts of how to live life, like how do you treat your wife? And how should your wife treat you?
Let me answer. In 2015, I was offered a deal by ESPN. They told me, Gary, we want you to apologize for not supporting gay marriage. And if you do that, we'll make numerology mainstream on ESPN. You'll have your own segments and we'll pay you this much money. You know what I told them? Kiss my ass. Because I don't sell out for freaking money. And I never will. Do I work hard as a capitalist? Yes, that's what everyone should do. But do I lie, cheat, steal to get ahead in life? No, because I don't need to fear God. I know what karma is. And I know if I do anything bad, it's going to come back to me.
Why?
So I don't need to be fearful of God. I just know God's system is karma. And if I do anything wrong, when I die, I will be judged.
So it is fear.
But I don't need to kneel, pray, and do all of that stuff that you do. He doesn't need your worship. He just needs you to do the right thing. How many people go to church? How many people go to mosques? And then right afterwards, they start drinking, or they start gambling, or they start eating pork. How many Muslims in the world do that? How many millions of them? So they go in the house of worship, and then they go out and do the same crap. I don't eat pork. I don't drink. I'm a better Muslim than half the Muslims in the world by default, just by doing that.
Daniel, what do you have to say about what Gary said, that when you pray, you become prey? Like, what's your thoughts on that statement?
I don't even understand it. I don't even understand what
of course
what makes you pray. Like, when you submit to God, how is that making you
it's kind of like the words
if you have a logic that submitting to God is a waste of time. I was trying to explain how it's not. I'm trying to explain to Gary that this, first of all, is a kind of a spontaneous reaction that any human being has to his creator, to reflecting on the gifts that he's been
Not
given.
every.
And it takes a certain kind of arrogance. It
Nope.
takes a certain kind of arrogance to say that, no, this is from me. It's my work. Everything that I have, like, oh, I have so many subscribers on Twitter. That's my work. And I deserve that. I don't have that assumption. I assume that the ability that I have to get up out of bed, that's God given. God could change just one single line of nerves in my leg or in my back, and I'll be paralyzed. I won't be able to get out of bed. Do you think I control my body? No. Those nerves, I could get some kind of inflammatory disease, some autoimmune disease, and I'll be paralyzed in constant pain for the rest of my life. And that's in God's hands. I don't control those aspects of my health. I don't control
Yes, you
those
do,
aspects
man.
of my.
Yes, you do, man.
The people who are sick in the
choose to
hospitals,
go out there and exercise. You can choose to go out there and eat healthy. Let me tell you something. A
the
man
people
who
who are
goes out there.
paralyzed.
Stop.
No,
Listen.
you interrupted me.
I'm not in the
You
best
interrupted me.
shape of my life. I want to say this. If a man goes out there and he works out every day and he goes out there and he eats healthy every day, he has a better chance of surviving without praying than a guy who goes to the fucking bar all the time, drinks, does drugs, sleeps with a whole bunch of whores, but he prays every day. He's going to die a lot sooner. So if you do the right thing, that supersedes praying to anything. Anything.
Yeah, we should tell the people with Down syndrome that they need to exercise more.
Well, maybe you should tell the people with Down syndrome. The people with Down syndrome, they usually have a mother who's been ran through. So maybe they should have their mom make sure to close their legs a little bit more so they wouldn't have that issue.
Guys, I just want to say, can we please try to keep it like one at a time?
Yeah.
Keep it 1-1. So, Daniel, I'll give you about a minute, and then Gary a minute after to respond.
Yeah. So many of the kinds of problems I was talking about are medical issues that you're not in control of. It's not about exercising or eating healthy. There are so many problems that you can suffer in your life, and the fact that you're healthy enough to go and work, that's a blessing. And the people who most appreciate that fact are the ones who are disabled, the ones who have mental disability, physical disability, and those are disabilities that are no fault of their own. They've been tested in life by that challenge, and the way that they respond to that is how they will be judged by God. And God will judge them according to their circumstance, and God will judge me according to my circumstances. God gave me a body. He gave me a certain brain, a certain ability to do work or to speak. And then what do I do with that? What do I accomplish with that? Do I do it for goodness? Do I do it for his sake, for the sake of God? Or do I do it purely for greed, purely for self-satisfaction? God is going to judge me at on the last day, the day of judgment. And you say you believe in karma. That means there are consequences. So you fear consequences, and that's
I don't fear anything.
Then why'd you say you fear karma? Why do you fear that?
I don't fear anything. I know that if I do bad things, they come. Knowing is not the same thing as fear, my friend. So now let me ask you a question. You have a man on the right who exercises all day, eats healthy. I mean, he never prays. And you have a man on the left who drinks alcohol all day, does drugs all day, sleeps around with whores all day, but he prays. Which one is going to be more likely to survive? The guy who prays or the guy who does everything right?
It's in God's hands.
Exactly. See, this is what I'm talking about. They'll never answer questions like that. They know damn well the guy who's taking care of himself will do a lot better than the guy who prays and does nonsense. Yeah. But they want to put such an emphasis on prayer. And that's the problem, because they're all praying to demons. They're literally all praying to demons. Even in the Bible, it says there's going to be many false prophets. It says that many freaking times. What I want to tell you guys is never pray to anything. Just do the right thing. Now, I will admit, I will admit there's a lot of low IQ people in the world because babies aren't being breastfed anymore, all sorts of stuff. Fluoride in the water. There's a lot of low IQ people in the world right now who, to keep them in check, you might need religion so they fear something. But when people have a high IQ level, they don't need that stuff, bro. They already know what the difference between right and wrong is. I know what the difference between right and wrong is. I don't need to pray. If I was what they wanted me to be, I'd be worth at least $100 million by now. I'm okay just being a lonely millionaire, knowing I did the right thing, than being a freaking billionaire, knowing I did the wrong thing. So
If high
again,
IQ, if high IQ is what's going to drive knowing what's right and wrong, who were the segments of society that were most in support of like LGBT, gay marriage, transgenderism? They were the elite of society. They were at Harvard University. Like, I'm a Harvard graduate.
educated is not the same thing. That's brainwashing, bro.
They have the highest IQ
Okay.
tested at universities like Harvard, Princeton, Yale.
Okay. Yeah.
They actually have higher average IQ, and they're the most liberal. They're the most in support of these kinds of ideologies. They're most in support of LGBT, feminism, communism. They're most in support of these ideologies.
Who's in support of communism?
The elite, liberal elite.
The
like Harvard.
The elite are making way too much money off capitalism to be communist, my friend.
The point being that you have high IQ people who don't know what is right or wrong. They don't know what is right or wrong, and they don't have any guidance. They don't have any way to know
you
what
would
is
rather
right
deal with low
they
IQ
need,
people than high IQ people. Is that what you're telling me?
They need guidance from their creator on how to live life. When you say that, oh, sleeping around is bad, how do you know that? How do you know that that's the case?
Because you get STDs.
No, there's plenty of protection. You can use protection. There's
no. Once a woman, stop. Once a woman sleeps with a man, that energy is there for the rest of her life. That's energy, nonsense.
What are you talking about? What energy? What energy?
Once a woman sleeps with a man, that energy is with them. People have energy.
What energy?
They have atomic energy.
Is it
Islamic energy? What are you talking about? Islamic energy, where everyone has energy. Everyone has energy around them. Everyone has an aura. Everyone has chakras. And once people have sexual intercourse, once they sleep with someone, that energy stays with them forever. Why do you think all these whores are insane? Because they've been ran through by like 100 different guys, and that energy stayed with them. Now, this might be common to you, but this is how it actually works.
Someone who doesn't know that there's an energy and an aura, they don't have any way to see that. How are they going to know that that's the case?
You know, that's a good question. I can't see the wind, but if I put my hand outside the window, I can feel it. I don't need to see anything. I don't need to see everything. I can feel things too.
Okay, how can we feel the aura and the energy that you lose when you're sleeping around?
Okay, let's do this. Tyson, you ready? You do it too, my friend. Put your hands together like this. You asked. I'm showing. Put your hands together like this. Yeah. And then go like this a little bit, and then slowly take them apart. And then put them together without touching. Do it about 3 times. At this point, you should feel some energy between your hands.
Feels like a little bit warm or something. A little bit warm, yeah.
You feel it, Tyson?
I do, yeah.
It's called.
There you go. That's how you do it. Yes. And again, this guy's laughing because the only thing he believes in is praying. That's all he believes in. He doesn't believe in anything except praying. That's the problem. He might be a good guy. He might be a good dude. I'm not saying anything wrong with. I'm just saying all he believes in is praying. He doesn't believe any of his accomplishments are his own. He believes they're all from God. Great men do not think like that.
You're mixing things up. You're mixing things up.
I'm using your words.
We're talking about guidance. We're talking about like, how do we know what is the right thing to do? How can you be righteous? My claim is that the only way to know how to be righteous is to get revelation, that God has to send the way to live life, the manual for life. That's how you know not to sleep around, that LGBT is bad, to treat your parents well, to honor your parents, to not engage in gambling or drinking. That doesn't come through reason or just through human means. If you just leave human beings to try to figure that out, they're going to be led astray by their own desires.
Then explain me, sir. Explain me. I don't pray at all, and I do all that. Explain me then, sir.
No, you don't do all of that. What do you mean?
Yes, I do.
You gamble, don't you? As just one example.
I make a lot of money off it. Yeah, no doubt. Okay. You don't have hold on.
Very destructive.
You don't have money in the stock market.
Money in the stock market is not gambling. Investing in a business is not gambling.
Whoa! Wall Street is the biggest casino in the world. So this is what you always hear from these Muslims. Oh, gambling's bad, but they got money in the stock market. They got money in crypto. That's okay. That form of gambling's okay. But because it's sports gambling, that's bad. That's lunacy. That's absolute lunacy. Do you know how many people have lost their bags in the stock market? Why is that not gambling? Make it make sense, sir. You can't say that the stock market's okay and crypto's okay and then say, oh, sports gambling's bad. Stop being a hypocrite.
Gambling is on the basis of just chance that cannot be controlled. It's something that is out of your control. If you invest in stock or you invest in a business, any business that you invest in, it's based on investment principles, the business itself. What is the business based off of? So that information makes it beyond just pure chance, because you can control the factors that
just like when the Cavs were down in 2016 3-1 and I called them to come back, and that wasn't done by chance. That was based off numerology and astrology. So again, sir, don't tell me that stuff. Don't tell me that stuff based on chance. You have more of a chance losing your money in the stock market. You have more of a chance losing your money on crypto than I do on sports.
Yeah, we know all the people, for example, in the United States who invest in the lottery, and they're all doing as well as the financial investors on Wall Street, right? It's the same thing.
You think
investing in the lotto
is 100 to a million? The lotto is 100 million to 1. To pick a team to win is 50-50, just like a crypto to go up and down. That's a horrible example. Playing
the lotto, going to Las Vegas. We see all the people who are going to Las Vegas. They're just as rich as the Wall Street bankers. Yeah, exactly, right, Gary? You've convinced me. Why should I take why should I take $100 and invest it in stock? I should just go to Las Vegas and play craps. I should go.
Maybe you should invest in stock in 2008, 2007 when everything crashed, or maybe 1987 where everything crashed. You can lose just as much money in the stock market or in crypto like they did in 2022, like they did in 2017, as in anything else. So this false equivalent of saying that, oh, sports gambling is bad, but crypto and the stock market is good, is nonsense. By the way, do you have a mortgage, sir?
No.
But a lot of Muslims do, don't they?
I don't.
Well, I asked you a different question now. I said a lot of Muslims have mortgages in the United States of America. Yes or no?
Sure, maybe they do. So
isn't that anti-Islamic, sir? To pay interest?
Conventional mortgage, it is haram.
Yeah. So I by the way, I don't pay a mortgage either. So I guess I'm a better Muslim than a lot of these Muslims who are paying interest, aren't I?
No, you're not a Muslim at all. So
I didn't say I'm a Muslim. I said I'm a better Muslim than they are. I don't eat pork. I don't drink. I don't pay interest. They do. So who's the better Muslim?
Daniel, wouldn't you say that life is a gamble in a sense, though? Like, I'd say, like, a lot of stuff, like, even just, like, me trying to be, like, a YouTuber, like, that's a gamble in itself, you know?
Big time.
A lot of stuff's a gamble.
If you mean a gamble that there is a potential to lose, then, everything is this is like a very loose term for gambling. But when we say gambling that is haram, like, it's a specific thing. Like, going to a game, like, you roll the dice in a game of craps, or you go and play poker, and your ability to win or lose is just purely by the chance of the cards that you're dealt, the roll of the dice, or in the lotto, the numbers that you scratch off. That is the type of gambling that is from the devil, and it's addictive, and it causes many people to lose their entire livelihoods, their homes, their families, because they engage in this gambling.
Yeah,
that's
same thing with Wall Street, same thing with crypto, same nonsense. Absolute same. And by the way, do you know who Michael Jordan is?
Yeah, degenerate gambler. Yeah, I know.
Okay, so if Michael Jordan was the NBA Finals and you bet on him to win, which was likely, he's 6-0. So how is that a bad thing? Because if you're an educated person, that's not the way
sports gambling works. That's not the way.
Well, obviously it is, because he's 6-0 in NBA playoffs and NBA Finals.
The odds. What are the odds? So you have to. If you bet on Michael Jordan, you're going to get lesser amount of money.
And you still win, brother. You still win. See, the greedy people, they go out and try to get the 4 to 1 on the underdog, and they lose. The smart people, they do the same thing as the bankers do. They take little stick in here. They don't try to go all in every time. See, this is the problem with Islam. This is the problem with Christianity. They're going to tell you, oh, this form of gambling is okay, stocks, crypto, but sports is bad. This is hypocrisy. And this is what they
crypto,
do. This is
a
what
lot
they
of
do.
Muslims say crypto is haram too, so there's a difference
Oh,
of
well,
opinion on
guess
that.
what? If sports gambling is haram, so is crypto.
But you're, again, trying to distract from the overall point that I was making because you can't answer the main point. Where do we get guidance? Where do we get guidance from? When it comes to not sleeping, you said that
life
sleeping
experience.
around, or how about respecting your parents? Why should we respect our parents? Why should we honor our parents? Especially if our parents are asking us to do things that we don't want to do. Why not just throw them in a nursing home? Why not just turn our backs on them and ignore them, as many Americans, many non-Muslims do around the world? Why should we respect our parents? Like, this is a kind of teaching that can come from revelation.
Honor. It's called honor. It's
Why?
called loyalty.
Why should we abide by honor and loyalty? Who says?
Well, here's the thing. Some people just have it in them, and some people don't. I'm always been a loyal person by nature. That it just,
why is it a good thing?
It's in
why
people.
Is it a good thing? Why is it a good thing in the first place?
Why is the good thing? Because quite frankly, man, I'm a good person and I won't fucking betray anyone. That's why. It comes from here in the heart, bro. Either you have it or you don't. There's plenty of people who go to church and go to a mosque and pray, and then they lie, steal, and cheat. Plenty of people like that.
Yeah. So are your, again, like, how can you know what is honorable, what is righteous? Everyone claims that they're honorable. It's very easy to go, oh, I'm honorable.
Not everyone claims. Not everyone claims that.
I don't steal and cheat. Everyone says that. Everyone says that.
Okay.
You have to show. You have to have certain standards.
Let me ask you something.
Judge objectively.
Let me ask you something. Is killing someone bad?
It depends.
If you take self-defense out of it, is killing someone bad?
It depends.
Okay, so tell me how it depends if you take self-defense out of it.
No, like, someone could have done a crime, they killed a person, so they deserve the death penalty. So that's it's fine to kill the person, criminal who has killed someone else.
Well, that's because they killed someone else. There's a reason behind it. They killed someone else. So as a person, do you think it's okay to go around killing people?
As a Muslim, no, because God has told me that is wrong. But if I were a materialist, let me finish my sentence. If I were a materialist and I believe that, look, once we die, there's nothing, and we need to maximize our happiness in this world because I'm a utilitarian, I want to maximize utility, and I'm going to gain pleasure from killing people, then it's justified to kill people because I increase my pleasure, I increase my bottom line. That's a kind of logic that I could have.
That's a sociopath, my friend. That's a sociopath right there. Listen,
that person doesn't think he's a sociopath.
Again, I'm going to tell people, some people in this earth, they need to read a book that tells them if they kill, they steal, they cheat, they're going to be punished by God. Okay, granted, some people need that. I don't. And you're not going to tell me to get on my knees. You're not going to tell me to get on my knees because other people need a holy book to read to tell them to do the right thing. I don't. I don't need a holy book. You might need one to go read your Quran, go read your Torah, go read your Talmud. I don't need that garbage. It's all trash to me. It's absolutely all trash. If you want to do the right thing, you're going to do the right thing. If you don't, you don't. But you're not going to tell me, oh, just because I pray, I'm a good person. That's nonsense.
No, you don't know what the right thing is. Just through your logic.
I think I do. I've been married for 20 years, got 2 kids. I'm doing pretty well in this world, my friend. And you?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. God, thanks to God.
Do you have a wife and kids, sir? Okay. Have you been divorced? Are you vaccinated?
No.
Based.
Okay.
Based.
No. I got also canceled I got kicked off of Twitter. I was also canceled for going against the death vax. Anyway, but let's just do a test. Like, I want to test this numerology.
We agree on more than we disagree on, sir.
Yeah, I think so. So when it comes to numerology, let's do like an objective test. Are you up for that, or is that not?
Are you going to tell me your birthday and then I give you a reading and then you're going to tell me that's not my
No.
birthday? And then you do like all these other Muslims do to me when I do streams with them, like Andrew Wilson. Oh, what I asked Andrew, what's your birthday? He's going to give me his birthday after I give him a reading. He's like, oh, that's not my birthday. Ha ha. Is that what we're going to do here?
I'm going to give you a date of a prominent figure of history. I won't tell you who that prominent figure is, but based off of his birth date, you tell me the characteristics of this person, and then
give me the birthday.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a figure of history, a prominent figure,
and it has to be his real birthday.
Yeah, of course.
Like Hitler's birthday is not 420; it's actually 421. So we need actual real birthdays too.
This is a real birthday.
I mean, we can. How about we start with Nomar Gaddafi?
No, it's not.
Is that a good figure
it's
for
someone
you?
that you can't know in advance. So this is a real birthday of a figure, and people will Google it afterwards to confirm. November 24th, 1946.
November 24th, 1946. Okay, so what we have there is a born leader, someone who has an aggressive nature, someone who's going to get in people's faces if need be, someone who might be a little bit too aggressive at times, a very home and family oriented guy, someone who wants to take care of a lot of people. Anyone born on a 24, 2 and 4 or 6 is going to be about responsibility, home and family. Someone who's born in the year of the dog, which means he's very untrustworthy. He doesn't trust others. Very, very difficult time trusting others. When it comes down to it, I would say that this person had a very. Is he still alive?
No.
Okay. He would have bad years in 1988, 1976. And 1964, those would have been his enemy years. His life should have changed in the years 1974, 1975. And that's when he should have been started getting in a position of power. Right after 74, 75 is when he should have elevated whatever he did in life and got into more of a powerful position. But he had a lot of responsibilities and he was a born leader.
Okay. So who's the person?
So this is Ted Bundy, the serial killer. He was born on November 24th, 1946. I wouldn't consider him a home and family guy. I don't think he wants to take care of people. He brutally murdered dozens of women.
I said he was very aggressive.
True.
Yeah, you got that right. He was aggressive. He brutally murdered and skinned people alive. So that you're right about that.
He's a one life path, and ones tend to be very aggressive in life. So again, I didn't know his name. I didn't know his time of birth. So I can just go off, the birthday itself. But that's a very aggressive individual. If you were probably to look, he probably got really into his craft around 74, 75 and afterwards. That's when he started really getting into his, or something drastic happened in his life. That's why I put those years out there. But I'm not sure what happened in his family, but he probably did have some heartbreak in his family and stuff like that for someone to crap like that.
He was a serial killer, so I assume so.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, man. Listen, one life paths are very aggressive in life, man. That's a serial killer to a T.
You can give me any single person, and I'll point out that they've had trouble in their lives. They've had difficulty. Tragedy has struck. And I can even give dates. So I say, like, in 2022, you had some kind of difficulty.
I don't have my phone on.
2015 was a very difficult year.
Now what we can do is we can look through his chart, look through his life history, and see if those dates were right. Like, for instance, the Unabomber. Hold on. The Unabomber. Well, I said specific years he would have had issues in.
I have
look
issues
up the year
every
he got
single
caught.
year of my life. I have issues.
Look up the year he got caught, and see if it was his enemy year. See, that's how you prove like the Unabomber. The Unabomber was a horse. And he got caught in a rat year. So again, someone got caught in their enemy year.
And that happened.
It is what it is. Those things happen all the time.
He was caught and arrested.
Hitler was born Hitler was. We can go through Hitler. Hitler was born
Ted Bundy,
1889, the year of the ox.
Ted Bundy, you said what year was he caught? 1978, which was not a date that you mentioned.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. You're right.
So that's the thing. Like people go to fortune tellers, and fortune tellers will give this kind of very generic statements. Like, on this year, you went through some hardship. Everyone goes through hardship every single year.
That's not true. Yes. Every year, people don't go through good years and bad years. I had a great year this year because I went after Elon Musk. In the very beginning of the year, Elon Musk is born in, what year the fuck is he? 1971. He's born in 1971. He's born in the year of the pig. And this year is the year of the snake. That's his enemy year. So when this year started on January 29th, when the year of the snake happened, I started shorting his stock and I made a lot of money doing it. Why? Because this is my positive year. I'm a snake and snakes do well in snake years. Congratulations, Anthony Edwards, for making it to the Western Conference Finals. Again, a snake. But pigs take L's. How do you know this? Wes Watson is going to prison because he hit somebody. He's born 83, year of the pig. When it comes down to it, who else got hit this year? Hooters. Hooters is a restaurant that was founded in the pig year. It's going through bankruptcy right now. Adam 22, he's born in 1983. He's having a difficult year. His company's going bankrupt. So, by the way, this is stuff I've mentioned in the very beginning of the year. And by the way, I also said that India and Pakistan would have skirmishes this year. That happened. I said that before it happened.
Every year.
The reason I said that was because no, they don't. No, they don't. This was a big one right here. They had one in 71. They had one in I believe 47. So it's not every year, but they had it this year. And why did I say that? Because they were granted independence from the UK in 1947. 1947 is the year of the pig, and this is a snake year, so I knew they'd have issues. There's a real system behind this, more logic than in your Quran, in all honesty.
Jeez. Yeah, I'm also born in the year of the pig too. I'm pretty sure 2007. So it's my enemy year.
I mean, but why would we even care about what date you're born in? Because if you're born on a specific date in the Gregorian calendar, there's many different calendars. There's like a Julian calendar, a Chinese calendar, there's an Islamic calendar.
Outstanding.
And there's different types of, like, not all calendars are solar calendars. You have lunar calendar, lunisolar calendar, fixed calendar. So
yes,
it's also arbitrary. Like, why should we care about the Gregorian calendar?
Let me ask you something.
Like,
let me ask you something.
Your birthday
in Egypt right now, it would be the same date as it would be in America, in China, in Indonesia. They all go by the same calendar right now, don't they?
I'm not sure if all those countries have the same calendar.
Well, no, they do. They do. They all go by the same calendar right now. And here's the thing about energy,
not the Islamic
how it works.
Calendar. In Egypt, they go by the Islamic calendar.
Of the people, hold on, let me finish. If most of the people in the world, sir, let me finish. If most of the people in the world believe today is June the 5th, not saying it is, but if most people in the world believe that, then the energy of the day will match what most people's mindset is in. This is how energy actually works. I understand this is way beyond theology and the Bible and the Quran, but this is actually how the real world actually works. You have a 600-year-old book and you think all the answers in it. The Christians have a 2,000-year-old book. They think all the answers in it. This is nonsense. Why would you go by a book that was written all those years ago before we had all this technology?
Wait.
It just makes absolutely no sense.
Gary, I'm just getting a lot of energy. Hold on. Oh.
Yeah. Let's see the
energy.
joke.
I'm
go
feeling
ahead.
some energy there, Gary. Wow. What date is it?
Yeah, you have to do that thing with the hands, like I told you.
What date is it? The energy is coming. The energy all around me is coming, Gary.
Yeah, you got to work on your sarcasm, my friend.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. I mean, I don't.
It's okay. Listen,
I only mock because you want to call my religion nonsense. That's the only reason. I want to keep it respectful. I wanted to keep it respectful, but you started.
I am being respectful.
You were respectful by saying I worship a demon.
Is this not the most respectful interview you ever seen with me?
Yep.
Brother, I usually just attack 24/7. I'm being very respectful.
That is true.
I mean, very respectful for you too.
I know you are. So again, I think your religion is nonsense. You think that numerology is nonsense. It's
Here,
cool.
do you guys think
I'm not
do you guys
hating
think
you
it's
for it.
possible for numerology to be true and Islam to also be true at the same time? Like, is that possible, or does one have to be
Well,
with the
I
other?
explained
I
that.
believe in I believe in some of the tenets of Islam, home and family, keeping
Yeah, but do you believe
women,
it's true at the
covered
core?
up. I think that's
But
very
do you believe
important.
that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. But not the praying part, not the non-Muslims have to pay a jizya tax. That's all nonsense. That's never gonna happen, bro.
It did happen for a big portion of history. So.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. If it happens again,
And
we'll definitely
Jews
go to
loved
war.
it. No, Jews loved paying the jizya.
I don't care what Jews love, bro. I'm not going to be
was like a good
subjugated
deal.
to a non-Muslim tax. And I'm telling you right now, I want
You
all the
pay
Muslims
American
in the world to
taxes. You pay
understand me.
American taxes. What's wrong with that? You're paying
That's
jizya to
fine.
Donald Trump.
I am not
You're
paying
paying
a
jizya.
tax for being a
You're
non-Muslim.
paying
I am
jizya to
not
Donald
paying a
Trump.
tax for being a non-Muslim, and I'm willing to go to war
You're
for it. And so will billions of other people on this planet. If you try to subjugate people and try to get Muslims to pay a non-Muslim tax like a jizya, we're going back to war.
Okay.
Other than that, we're good.
You're-
Don't try to enforce any jizya tax on me, because I know the history of Islam. I know how Muslim caliphates operate. You're not going to come into America and start telling us to pay a jizya tax. That's never going to happen. We'll go to war before it does.
Okay. I hope you don't get any jizya tax, but you're paying jizya to Donald Trump.
I'm not paying jizya tax. I'm not paying a tax for being a non-Muslim. Do you
So you're
understand
fine.
that? That's
Yes,
what a
you
jizya
have to
tax
give-
is. It's a tax for being a
You're
non-Muslim.
fine giving jizya, but it just has to be for the right reasons.
I'm not giving any jizya tax. Not happening.
How much?
Nope.
How
So
many?
again, those
How
are
much?
those are the issues. Those are the issues I have with Islam.
What's the jizya?
Once they get to about 30-40% of the society, they start, trying to tax non-Muslims and all this other stuff.
What's the
Not
property
happening.
jizz in Miami for your condo? What's the property jizz for that?
I mean, I pay a lot, bro. I pay a lot out here,
A
bro.
lot of jizz for the property.
I live right on the beach, bro. I'm paying a lot. But guess what? The tax is not for me being a non-Muslim.
Going straight to Israel.
I'm paying property taxes. I pay all sorts of taxes. I'm not paying a tax for being a non-Muslim. I'd rather go to war.
Tax for Israel. That money is going straight to Israel.
I'm not paying tax to Israel, man. I'm paying taxes for my roads. I'm paying taxes to keep the American military, the most powerful military in the world, and I'm okay with that.
Powerful military.
And by
to
the
go
way,
to war for which country? You're paying jizz
I don't
to
see
Israel.
us going to war for Iran.
20
years. 20 years Netanyahu's been trying to get America to go bomb Iran. It hasn't happened. He's about to be removed from power. Netanyahu will be removed from power before America bombs Iran. Promise you that.
Okay, my chat is saying I'm going to be timed out on the stream if I keep talking about jizz tax.
It's all good, man. It's all good, man. Anyways, listen, I'm sure you're a good guy. I'm sure you're a good person. If I saw you in the streets, I'm sure we'd have a pleasant conversation. We have a few differences. It's not many. I believe the Zionists are basically a plague on society. I believe they spread homosexuality. They spread feminism. They spread a whole bunch of garbage. So they have all the so-called goy all messed up in their families and stuff like that. So no one's paying attention to them. At the same time, I do understand might is right. Just like I understand that if the Mexicans ever try to take Texas back, it's just not happening. So I will tell people this. If you really have issues with Israel to that level, then you should probably go do something about it. And I have no issues with that. If you really believe that Israel is the biggest threat on the earth, then go do something about it. I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to your audience. When I believe that China is the biggest threat on earth. I believe the Chinese, if they're ever in power, you as a Muslim will be shut down because the Chinese have declared Islam a mental illness. The Zionists never did that. The Chinese have. The CCP have. So I'm going to, and you know what they did to the Uyghur Muslims over there. So the Chinese are the biggest threat to Islam, not Zionism.
No.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Is that actually? Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think had a very fun, interesting conversation. I learned a good amount about Gary's perspective, and appreciate him coming onto the channel to discuss. I don't have much time because I have to go pray actually. So submitting to God. So that's. But yeah, I really thank you both for organizing this and being willing to talk. Thank you, Gary, for being mostly respectful. I
Yeah.
know that we have differences, but we can always talk and have a good time and try to understand more. But ultimately, my claim was that we need to have religion for guidance, and Islam is the only religion that has a preserved system of laws, has a preserved system of rules and regulations that guide people in every aspect of their life. So whether you're an individual or you're married, like how should you get married? How should you get divorced? Like what's a just system of dividing assets, inheritance if you have children? How should you raise your children? How do you educate your children? These are questions that people have, human beings have. How do you live in a family? How do you live in society? How do you engage in war? War is an inevitability, but there should be rules to war. Otherwise, you're going to go too far. How do you set up the economy?
Only one rule: win, win. That's the only rule.
Yeah, so you have to have rules for living life, and Islam is a system, is a religion that provides those rules, whereas in other religions we don't have that. We don't have that in Christianity. Christianity says that you just have to love Jesus and have faith, and that's all that's required. Jews have
Nonsense.
a ethnocentric based religion that says that Jews are the only human beings and non-Jews are less than animals. You
Nope.
have Hinduism, also a racist, ethnocentric religion based on the caste system. Buddhism doesn't have rules either. Buddhism is not a law-based religion. So none of the religions provide answers to these fundamental questions that humans have. And this is why Islam is so critical. Islam is so important. And it is the true path. It is the true religion from God, because God has sent guidance through prophets, ending with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him.
You
And
can't prove
then,
that.
and
You
then
can't prove that.
that guidance has been preserved for our time. So that makes Islam unique, and that's the reason why I'm a Muslim. That's the reason that I submit to my Creator. So that's just my concluding statement.
Okay.
Yep. I want to thank our panel here today. It was mostly a very respectful conversation. I trust me, I tried very hard. This is a tame version of me, but this, when people talk about Islam, the only true religion out there, you can't even prove that Muhammad, an illiterate man, wrote the Quran. No one can prove
Yeah,
that.
he didn't.
There's not one shred of evidence that would stand up in a court of law that you could prove that Muhammad wrote the Quran, who is an illiterate man. The fact that Aisha was 9 years old, that's a whole nother can of worms I really don't want to go into, but that's a fact as well. But when I look at Islam, I see IS, just like Israel, IS, just like the goddess Isis, IS. When I look at Ra, I see all that Ra is Iran, is in Israel. When I look at El as an Elohim, I look at the Bible, angels. So again, religion, while it's a lot better to have people religious than degenerates, I will always admit that. There's a glass ceiling on religion where if you get any knowledge above that, all of a sudden it's from the devil, or you're a Satanist, or all this other nonsense that people want to say. So again, I don't think it's that difficult to know that you're not supposed to steal. I don't think it's that difficult to know you're not supposed to sleep around a whole bunch of whores. I don't think that those are difficult things that you need a holy book to tell you. Now, if you do, okay, you're like you do your thing. But at the end of the day, numerology is going to replace Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism. It's going to replace all of them within 20, 30 years. And it's not going to be something you worship. It's just going to be a belief system. I don't worship numbers. They're not here to be worshiped. Numbers and numerology, the prime creator's gift to us to interpret things. Last thing I'll say about Islam. Even I've always said I think Christianity is first grade and Islam is second grade. So I do have more respect for Islam than I do Christianity, because quite frankly, you don't see LGBT flags in mosques like you do in churches. But if you look at Islam as a whole, they have a problem with Buddhists, they have a problem with Hindus, they have a problem with Jews, they have a problem with Christians, they have a problem with everybody. Anywhere you in the world you see Muslims, they have conflict with other so-called people. So again, people need to be very, very careful of the way they interpret Islam. And last shout out to the Taliban, who are actually keeping women in check. So shout out to them.
Okay, so I don't know if I should respond to those claims, but it was funny listening to it.
Anyway, it was a pleasure, brother.
Before you guys
now.
go, where can everybody watching find you on social media?
Muslim Skeptic on YouTube, or you can follow me on Twitter. My last name, just look it up on Twitter and you'll find it.
Got you. And Gary?
Yeah, my Twitter account doesn't matter. It's been suspended 24 times. Doesn't matter if a leftist or rightist control it. They don't like me there. You can find me on IG. Just put in GG33 Matrix Prime. I got like 20 accounts. You can find me on YouTube, GG33 Academy. You can find me on TikTok. Honestly, just put in GG33. You'll find me, or Gary the Numbers Guy. And again, I appreciate everyone's time watching this, and I hope you were entertained.
Of course. And if you guys are watching on Daniel's channel, I'm going to keep on hosting more debates like this. So if you enjoyed this channel, also please, or if you enjoyed this debate, please consider coming and subscribing to my channel too. I think, Daniel, you tagged it in the title, so people could just click it if they want. So just Tyson Hockley everywhere for more stuff like this. Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Take care, everybody.